Hey, Buffalo Boys listeners, we are back. As always, it is your host, Ryan, along with my co-host, Todd. Todd, we are recording this on a Wednesday. I believe this is the first Wednesday podcast of the season, and it's a little later than usual, not directly after work. How's everything going with you?
Things are going well, Ryan. I had extra time to prepare for this podcast, so you know it's going to be great. I'm really excited to be here. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts as well.
Extra time to prepare for you, to me, just sounds like the trivia is going to be extra hard. So I hope I'm wrong, but we will see. Before we get into the episode, we are brought to you by our good friends at Mattress Black.
I got a king-size mattress that's good for your bird.
As fall begins, you're going to want a comfortable mattress for those long nights of slumber. The only place you need to go for that is Mattress Black's. Those who use the code 40, that is number 40, get 40% off of your purchase. I guess our friend Doug is using his 4-0 status as the discount this week. Again, that is code 40 this week only. And in Mattress Black's, you can always get a king-size mattress that's good for your back.
And Ryan, I have exciting news for everyone that is listening right now. We have a new sponsor, brand new sponsor this season. They are very excited. They've seen the early reviews. They're trying to get in while it's still relatively cheap, and you can too if you want to sponsor this pod. Our new sponsor is called Farmer Dave, and their tagline is, for all your urban farming needs, just no pumpkins. And let me tell you, Ryan, they have a blacklight special right now. This is per Emily, that you will be able to find your horny worms no problem.
Wow. I didn't even know I was looking for horny worms, but there we are. Farmer Days. Excited to have them as part of the show. Thank you to them. And just like that, Buffalo Boys begins. First off, Todd, as I mentioned, it is a Wednesday night, which means that it is a drinking podcast for me. It seems to always be a drinking podcast for you, but it is my first time imbibing. Is that the... Anyway, I have a special one that I opened up for the occasion, Todd. It is a 2015 Founders Backwoods Bastard. This is a pretty solid beer that I've enjoyed a few times. And I also have a 2016 version, but I decided to open up the older one. It's got a lot of sediment on the bottom, but smells delicious, nice and sweet. Can't wait to try it. What are you sipping on in Miami there, Todd?
Well, Ryan, I've got a great bourbon for you this go around. It is a relatively cheap one that is kind of hard to find in North Carolina, but we got a shop near me that has it on deck routinely. It is the Old Granddad 114 proof. It is super cheap, very smooth, and packs a punch. What are the notes you're getting on your beer there? I know all of your Untapped community is currently listening as they got the email blast that you were going to be on and talking about a new beer. So thank you for all of our new listeners. Ryan is currently swishing the beer around his mouth right now. He is inhaling, exhaling. Oh, there's a look of consternation on his face. Is this good? Is this bad? I don't know how long I can keep this going, Ryan.
No, it's fine. I appreciate it. You were really doing very well. It smelled really good. It smelled nice and sweet. First sip is... sour isn't the word that I want to use, but it's a little tangier on the normal, like plum, raisin. So I don't know if I love that. I think maybe this has just been in the aging too long.
You think it just lost all of its sugar and only has the bite now?
Yeah, something like that. I don't really know what it is. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just I wasn't expecting the tang that I got in the first sip. But hey, I will drink it because I'm that kind of dude. Hey, cheers, Todd.
Cheers, Ryan.
And just like that, Buffalo Boys has officially begun Week 5, Episode 5. First off, Clown Owner of the Week. I'm sure there was a clown owner. I have an idea of one or two who could be nominated. Who you got, Todd?
Well, Ryan, unfortunately, I have myself this week. I started your team defense, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they got me a solid -6 points to ruin my highest scoring week and lose by 2 points. Congrats, Hoyle. You could have had an even higher score. We were some of the highest scores on the week, but it wasn't good enough for me to get a win there. So good work there, Hoyle. I think we're going to come back strong this week, though, and prove, the team's got an edge now that we've been deemed a clown owner team.
I love it. Always rooting for you guys, Todd. Good luck. Sorry about my Steelers. I think on paper that really looked like a good choice to have them against the Texans, but I mean, this is a new look Texans. This is not your father's Texans team. With CJ Stroud at the helm, this is a fun team. And they're clearly embarrassing teams like the Steelers who should be better than them. Clearly not. Steelers are a dumpster fire this year. We have some injuries now, but I will save all of that talk for my therapist. Moving on, it is Quality Control Coach of the Week. Who you got?
We had some competition this week, Ryan. 3 teams started their optimal lineup and left no points on the bench. But one of those teams is 4-0, and that is Doug. Doug gets Quality Control Coach of the Week as he reigns supreme on top of the league and has an unblemished start so far. Good work, Doug.
Congrats, Doug. I hear you have some quick hit stats for us, Todd. A fan favorite segment, and of course,
gladly, Ryan. As has been the theme so far this season, I've been mainly doing West Park stats. So continuing with that trend, weeks 1 through 4 of West Park Fantasy Football League history, Nixon has benefited the most from lucky starts. He has 3.64 more wins across the full West Park history than expected, which is 0.7 more wins than Neil in second. So he has routinely gotten off to solid starts due to luck, and that hasn't helped him. Next up, we've got Adler. Adler, we talked about this last week. He's got 1.93 less expected wins than Next up is Adler. He's got 1.93 less wins than expected, which is the second worst, quote unquote, unlucky start through week 4 since Jimmy in 2017 with 2.08. So Adler has really been suffering so far. So I'm betting his luck is going to turn around. And then also continue with the theme of weeks 1 through 4. Forrest started off weeks 1 through 4 in this season and last season as the optimal points for leader. So based off his highest points scored, if he had started his ideal lineups, he has got off to 2 fast starts. But Dave holds the record in 2019 with the most optimal points, and that's with 583 optimal points through week 4. And that's it for quick hit stats, Ryan.
Great stuff as always, Todd. Thank you for those. Moving on, it is transaction review. I know we've had a busy week on the waiver wire, Todd. We have also had some trades as of today. Let's start off with those waiver moves.
Yeah, right. Some hotly contested waivers this week. Jaleel McLaughlin was won by Neil for an efficient $4 more than Adler, and had several bids there. So that was just prime time coaching on the waiver. And then Komet, he went to Nixon for a really large 10% of Nixon's budget, $111. And then the Lions defense with a primetime matchup this week was bid on by half the league and was ultimately won by Jimmy for $69. Nice. And then rookie Michael Wilson went for a rather large 301, or rather 30% of the budget. So hopefully he can continue his strong start.
Absolutely. I was one of those who bid on the Lions D. I needed a defense. Didn't get them, but I did get the Texans defense. Feeling pretty good about them this week. I guess we'll see what happens. There were a couple trades today, including 2 from Doug. I guess there was a lot of banter on the group me earlier today about these moves, but one of them was he traded away Justin Fields for $100 waiver dollars. And then a little later in the day, Neil traded Zach Ertz to him for some amount of waiver dollars as well. Obviously, I'm not feeling great that Doug got Ertz for basically nobody, especially because I'm playing him this week. I hope he doesn't go off there. On the Justin Fields side, again, I wasn't part of this discussion earlier, but I hear that a lot of people were saying that this was a really bad move from Doug. Maybe I'm the only one on his side that thinks it wasn't such a bad move. I mean, Justin Fields, he had a good game last week, but what has he done so far this season? Basically nothing. The Bears are a really bad football team. I don't see that changing at all. And listen, he got C.J. Stroud, who I think this season is a way better quarterback. He's just absolutely killing it. I'm definitely on the C.J. Stroud train. What are your thoughts, Todd? Do you agree with me on the Fields trade?
Yeah, Ryan, a lot to unpack here. Touching base on the Texans first, they have a new head coach this season. He is clearly leading them well. He is clearly coaching up Stroud well. The young receivers are playing well. The defense, he's a defensive head coach, is playing well, and they're getting wins. And there's a lot to like about Stroud. You got to wonder when another good defensive coordinator comes in and is able to identify, the weak link in his game and really attack it. Because, we haven't seen him thoroughly tested yet. He played maybe one or two medium tier defenses, but what happens when he plays top of the line? I like him. He's definitely interesting. So I think he'll play well on Doug's roster. But at the end of the day, he doesn't seem to be a rushing quarterback. He seems like he's going to be like a 15 to 18 point QB. And you just traded a higher ceiling, lower floor for consistency. And when you have a team with no running backs to provide you that consistency and only wide receivers, you have to wonder about the long-term viability of that strategy. High level, reporting the facts, Doug thinks he won the trade. Mike also thinks he won the trade. Mike actually said he thought he was just joking. He put it out as a gag and said, I'll give you $100 for Justin Fields. And, Doug hopped all over that, which is interesting because he hadn't spent any waivers yet. He hadn't spent any dollars on the waiver. He then gave $100 to Neil for Zach Ertz, like you were saying. I think it was Neil. And then he felt frantic when he didn't have a full allotment of $1 to spend. So he got that 100 right back from Mike for Justin Fields. So in effect, Justin Fields for Zach Ertz, onesie for onesie position. We'll see how it works out. It can definitely go one of two ways, like most things, and we'll see. Definitely caused quite the stir this week. Well, let's also move on to the other massive trade that was overshadowed by the latter, and that is Jimmy trading Jahmyr Gibbs, Darren Waller, and Jalen Hurts for Jerome Ford, Justin Herbert, and Dalton Kincaid. Each side benefited. We put out a poll. Everyone in the league thought it was about even. Darren Waller is a fraud at this point. You can't feel confident about it. The Giants are the worst team in terms of offensive EPA and in terms of pass rate success. So without anyone on their O-line, they've had so many injuries. You can't be happy starting Darren Waller. And I only think Dalton Kincaid will continue to get better and more involved in the offense. So I think Jimmy won on that side. Getting Justin Herbert for Jalen Hurts, that's probably a wash. And then getting Dadler, getting Gibbs for Jerome Ford, I think is a huge win. So I'm going to give the nod to Adler just because he got Gibbs and Hurts. And I don't think Waller will end up starting for him. So what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm gonna take your word on it, Todd. I didn't really have a chance to really look at it, but I was just surprised to see a 3-person for 3-person trade in the league. You don't see that very often. So obviously there was a lot of planning in there. There was a lot of cut back and forth. And I tip my hat to Adler. I mean, this is a guy who is starting the season 0-4, clearly needs to do something, and he did something in a big way. And I think getting Jerome Ford is a great move for him. He's now the Browns' #1 running back. I mean, he's only gonna have a bunch of chances to do really well. So, congrats to both of those guys. I hope it works out for both of them. All right, Todd. Moving on, matchup rundown review. Last week was not my best week. I went 3-4, including picking against myself, even though I beat Jimmy. Loved beating Jimmy, but boy, I mean, when I pick against myself, it's like, it's just embarrassing. I feel very foolish. So for the season, Todd, I'm 13-8, not having a great matchup rundown season. How did you do last week? How are you sitting?
It was definitely a reversal for me, Ryan. I unfortunately went 1 for 6. So on the season, I'm still looking really solid. I'm 19-9 so far, but I had some unfortunate picks last week.
It was really tough. Hey, the commish. What's up, dude?
What's up? What's up? I thought I'd hop in.
Thanks so much for joining us. Love having you on the pod. You know, you're probably top 2 in terms of participation. So thanks. We're debuting a new segment this week, a mailbag segment. And it's very coincidental because you were a topic of the one question that we selected. The question is, why does your commissioner commission the league that he has never been able to win?
Well, I reject the premise, as you knew I was going to. I've been on record very clear about this. I'm super happy to ignore everything before 2010 when it comes to trophies and everything. If it's not an ESPN, it's proto era, whatever. You know, it's pre-merger. This is pre-Super Bowl era. I'm happy to call it that. But for you to say like I've never won the league that I've commissioned, I am going to push back on that. I don't really know what else to say about that. I reject the premise.
Nixon, when was this fake win that you had? In what year? Was this like before cell phones?
It might have been before I had a cell phone. Actually, I was pretty late to getting a cell phone, but it was in high school. I think you would have been in the league, Ryan. Todd, you wouldn't have been. Yeah. I get a little fired up about this because there are certain people that want to count Forrest's win that doesn't appear in any of the records on the basis of just Mike Simpson happens to be kind of loud and happens to say that he remembers it happening. Nobody else does, but he does. So that on the basis of that one person, Forrest has some legitimacy. I want to get rid of Mike's first win. I want to get rid of Forrest's win. I want to get rid of mine. I want to get rid of whoever won in the other year. And we'll just start it fresh. If it's not on the trophy that's in Ryan's house right now, it's a half win. And that's the compromise I'm willing to make.
All right, Buffalo Boy fans, you've heard it here first. Sounds like a successful mailbag segment, Todd. Already getting
Who'd that come from? Name.
No, we can't. You know, we respect our audience far too much, and I would never say Danny sent that in. Speaking of Danny, though,
you know it's possible because she's listened to more episodes of this than about half of the league. So
shout out to Danny.
Do you think she wants to partake in some trivia?
I'm gonna say no. Because she's in the room with the door closed right now, which is going to either mean that she's on a work meeting or poloing with your wife, or something like that. So I'm going to say no to that.
Polo.
All right, let's dive in.
We're just going to skip the poloing. What is that? I thought that was like a game that you needed to play on. Live.
It's Marco Polo, which is it's like video walkie-talkieing, I guess. I don't know. It's like video. It's like TikTok for text messaging. Basically, it's like you send short videos. All the girls, all of our wives and girlfriends, all the squishes, they're all about it. They're all over it. We got Todd sitting here just cringing right now. It's like, okay, I gotta edit this part out.
Nixon, thanks so much for hopping on the pod. We did want to get your additional feedback on the trades as we just discussed. You weren't here for that, but we had some thoughts. We would love to hear your thoughts. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so I'm coming on the day that I think one of the most memorable, notable trades of the season, possibly of all time, was made today in the league. Groundbreaking, setting a new precedent, setting a new market, I think. And I was all over the group me today. People already know what I think, but it's highly contested. I'm going to say it right here on the pod. I'm, of course, talking about how I think Adler came out slightly on top of Jimmy in this 3-for-3 trade that they made today. I just think if you're ending up with the best player in the trade, that's usually going to be a good sign. And he's ending up with Jalen Hurts. And I just think that's going to be hard to top. The rest of it, everything kind of just balances out. I'm kind of off to run forward. So give it to Adler. Marquee trade, 3-for-3. We don't see a lot of those in the league. So Yeah, it was just really thanks for giving me that prompt, Todd. Thanks for indulging me on that. I just really wanted to make sure that I came on tonight and got a chance to throw in my 2 cents about that league rocking trade that went down today, October 4th.
All right, diving in this week, gentlemen, I've got 2 questions for you, and they're going to be softballs. So don't stress, Ryan. Breathe easy. Maybe take a sip of.
I've heard this before, Todd, and I just do not trust your version of a softball. So lay it on me. Luckily, Nixon's here. He's a lot smarter at football than me, so maybe he'll help us out.
I don't know. I lose trivia when I'm playing along at home, so I don't know.
All right, our first question this week is, which QB has the highest EPA per play through week 4?
Okay, well, it's not Bryce Young. I have a guess. Tua?
It is not Tua. Keep going. Ryan, you have a guess?
That was my guess. I thought that was a really good guess. Josh Allen.
Tua is a good guess because he's number 2. And Josh Allen is a great guess because he's number 3. And I should have said great and good in reverse order there, but
yeah,
neither are number 1.
Really?
Any other guesses, gentlemen?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna take it. Hold on. Let me think. I'm gonna throw another dart here. Man, I mean, before last week, it might have been Kirk, but he was really terrible against the Panthers. But sure, I've said the name. I'll say it. Yeah, is it Kirk Cousins?
It is not Kirk Cousins, and I'm looking up where Kirk actually is. He comes in at 11.
This is the guy that I've been talking about all podcasts because I'm just obsessed with him. I'll go for it. CJ Stroud.
It's a good guess, Ryan. Unfortunately, Stroud is at 16th overall, so temper those expectations. So without further ado, it is actually Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has an EPA of 0.474 additional points per play, and the second highest is Tua at 0.36. So Brock actually has a pretty sizable lead and has been super efficient. Now, is that buoyed at all by his amazing talent around him? Probably to some degree, but EPA per play tries to isolate that. So outside of his playmakers, he has actually been making great decisions and great plays.
Now, do I get points for getting second on that?
No points. All right.
That's too bad because I have a couple of second places in the post 2010 era. So
Too bad we don't have you and me both, Nixon.
All right. What would the second place trophy be? Would it be like a wrestling belt or something? Like, I mean, it can't just be like a trophy like we had for first place. Would it be like?
I think it should be like a misprinted T-shirt, sort of in the spirit of like I've heard they send the Super Bowl losers T-shirts that like donate them to third world countries and stuff like that. I think it would be pretty funny to have a. Yeah, but then it's like, yeah, we don't actually want to make a shirt for the loser that didn't win. So I don't know, like maybe like their name slightly misspelled or something. Just like a shirt that no one actually wants. That would be the idea.
But moving on to our last question here. This team defense, that is, this team defense has surrendered an explosive play, which would constitute a run of 12 or more yards or a pass of 16 or more yards on only 4.76% of plays. This is the lowest since the 2002 32 team alignment through week 4. Who is it?
Niners?
You got it, Ryan. I told you had this. I knew you would.
If I didn't get it, I was about to trash your definition of a softball question, especially off of one. But hey, I got that one.
Yeah, and that's it for trivia. Nixon, any last remarks, any bold predictions or comments on the chat today that you want to memorialize on the podcast?
Oh yeah. Now I've got a trivia question.
Ooh.
I've got a trivia question. Who is the most? This is for you guys. A trivia question for the host. Throwing it back at Todd. Who are the most penalized in penalties per game teams in the NFL this season so far?
The first name that came to mind was
Penalties per game, not the Bears. Where the Bears are ranked. They are ranked. Well, the source I had has it listed backwards, so the 1 is the least penalized team, but they're 23rd, so I guess they're 9 from the bottom, so I guess 9th, 8th maybe. I can't math.
Well, Ryan, do you have a guess?
You said most penalized team or player?
Team. I actually was looking for player because I think I know who that is, and I thought it would be an interesting trivia, but I couldn't find it. So we're on team.
The Bears.
Todd guessed the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are the 8th most penalized team. This is. I'm looking at it per game, which shouldn't be any different because everybody's played the same number of games at this point.
I'm gonna go with the New York Jets.
Not the Jets.
My last guess, Nixon, because you are asking the question, it leads me to think that it's your favorite team, Carolina Panthers.
It is tied at 8.5 penalties per game with another team that I'll let you guess as well. But yes, Carolina is tied for most penalties per game. And I'm going to guess that most of those are on one particular player, an NC State graduate, Ike Ekwonu, who's been false starting and holding all over the place on the offensive line.
Good question, Nixon.
Since Nixon brought some trivia, I wanted to bring some trivia as well. This is going to be really quick, I hope. Not sure how easy it's going to be. What current NFL player has the most followers on Instagram?
Kelsey.
Accurate
NFL player?
NFL player who is currently on a roster. It is
Kelsey, right?
It is
not Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce. Oh, snap. Is it one of these guys who's like really leaned into social media? Like not a player, not a very famous, a player who might, is it like not a very good player?
I wouldn't say that. I was surprised. I mean, this is not somebody that I follow, but like everyone knows him.
I was thinking Juju, which is why I said that.
It is Odell Beckham Jr. Yes, 18 million followers. Isn't that crazy?
Got it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's what starting your career in a New York market will do for you. All right, cut all this if you want. I feel like I'm just hanging out, wasting you guys' time at this point. But I have a follow-up trivia question. It was not the most penalized player is not, as I suggested earlier, Ike Ekwonu for the Carolina Panthers, an NC State graduate who's really struggled on the offensive line. It is instead a different offensive player in the league. Who is that player?
Is he also on the offensive line?
Also on the offensive line. That is what I meant to say. Sorry. Also an offensive
Juwan Taylor
as an offensive tackle. Yeah. You nailed it, Todd. Juwan Taylor. Wow. Yeah. All right. That's all I got for you guys. Just penalties. You know, that's where I'm at in my NFL fandom this season. It's just penalties.
Love it. Hey, Nixon, since we have you, how are you feeling about your matchup against Rick this week?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about a matchup with Rick. I don't actually think that Rick is one of the worst fantasy players in the league, but he is this year. And I think that he started out with a bad team and he hasn't done much to manage it. And I don't see that changing between now and Thursday, now and Saturday. So yeah, I feel pretty good. My team's not great either. So I really need to be playing lesser opponents to be expecting a win, but I am expecting a win this week.
It is.
Write it down.
Consider it written. Yeah. Me and Todd both predicted you as the winner as well. So good luck to you.
Nice. I like it. I need Raheem Mostert to get back to his ways. I need the Dolphins to be able to move the ball on the ground a little bit better, and I need Devon Chain to not become the next new hotness. I need that to at least happen while Javonte Williams is still figuring his body out. So hopefully that'll be the case, and hopefully I'll put Rick away.
Fingers crossed.
I haven't been able to tell what of this is. I've been trying to get clean clips of audio for you, resetting and stuff, because I've not been sure this entire time what part of this was the podcast and what part of it was meant to be edited out. So nice. WestParkFantasyLeague.com. 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 That's WestParkFantasyLeague.com. Buy me a coffee. All right, guys. I love you guys. I love being on. Anything else that we can do? Any other bits that we can record? Any other segments that we can record? Other than that, I'm gonna go head down, catch the light rail. I will see you guys later. Have fun. Can't wait to hear the release as always.
All right. And now moving on to week 5 matchup rundown. We've got some really exciting games, Todd. Can't wait to talk about them with you. Starting off, it's going to be my game of the week. And I feel a little selfish doing this because I am in this game. It is me versus Doug. We've said it a couple times on the pod already. Doug is 4-0. His team is looking great. I'm 3-1, 3 wins in a row, including a big win against Jimmy last week. Here's the thing about Doug's team. He has scored over 100 points in every game, and again, is just looking really solid. This week, I like Tyreek Hill's matchup against the Giants. I said this before. I like his pickup of C.J. Stroud. I think that's going to work out in the long term. But listen, Todd, I picked against myself last week, and I won. My team are the Miracle Boys. I mean, we're officially the Mr. Back-to-Back Boys, but we're also the Miracle Boys. We're beating teams by points of a point, percentages of a point. I think we're going to take down the mighty giant that is Doug Black. So yeah, I'm picking myself here. What are your thoughts, Todd?
I'm on the same side here, Ryan. This is going to be Doug's first loss to, the reigning champ. And it's hard to not like your team this week. Doug is obviously buoyed by having the wide receiver 1 and the wide receiver 2. And that's a pretty rare combination, a lethal combination with the high ceiling. Unfortunately, his QB no longer has a high ceiling. And I think you're able to overtake him this week, even though he's got Nico Collins at wide receiver 7 as well in the flex. I really like Nico. I think the Texans have a tough matchup this week, and that benefits you. So congrats on jumping into a tie for first.
Appreciate it, Todd. So going into last week, we had 3 undefeated teams. Doug is the only one left. One of those undefeated teams that fell last week was Neil. He is now 3-1, and he's going up against AJ this week. Who do you like, Todd?
Yeah, it's Neil. There's no point in even talking about this one. AJ's whole roster is on bye this week. He's on bye. He's admitted he's on bye, and it's not just Mike saying he's on bye. If AJ doesn't do anything crazy, it's Neil. It just is Neil. And, I just wish I could have played AJ this week because that is a nice matchup. And, I think Neil will be able to bring the all-time series closer. Currently, AJ has a lead on him, 10-8. So I think it'll end up 10-9 after this week.
Yeah, rarely are there automatic wins in the WPFL. It's a very competitive league. But this week, I think there are 2 of them because there are 2 teams that are absolutely getting fucked by the bye. One of them is AJ. I mean, what can you do? It just happens. There are always bye weeks. There are just weeks where a team is going to be worse. Unfortunately, that's AJ this week. Yeah, Neil's going to clean up here. The last undefeated team from week 3 who fell, that was Jimmy against me. He's going up against 1-3 Dave this week, our newest sponsor. Todd, will Dave's new association with Buffalo Boys help him beat Jimmy this week?
It's a great question, Ryan. Historically, this series is tied at 8-8, and it's one of 2 series that are dead even. So hotly contested, a lot on the line here. Both teams have been averaging 100 plus points for their current starters listed. We've got Dave, who is below 100 in terms of ESPN's projections, but obviously ESPN doesn't know anything. What I will say is that Jimmy's got a huge ceiling, but he's got to be worried about Derek Carr's shoulder. He couldn't throw the ball more than 5 feet last week. And Sutton will be likely matched up against Sauce Gardner. And Pickett, your boy Pickett, hurt knee, but is allegedly playing this week. And if it's anything like Joe Burrow playing on a hobbled leg, it probably won't yield good results. So I'm really back and forth on this. Kelsey would have to carry Dave's team in order for Dave to win. And also, how is Justin Tucker only kicker 25 overall? He is the 25th best kicker in our fantasy scoring. So there's clearly something wrong with our fantasy scoring if Justin Tucker isn't number 1. But neither here nor there, I'm going to give the edge to Jimmy.
Yeah, I think Jimmy will win here too. He's finally starting HN after 2 weeks of having him put up ridiculous numbers on his bench. He will be rewarded for it. So yeah, I'm taking Jimmy here.
You got to wonder though, Ryan, is this going to be a classic scenario where a player blows up 2 weeks in a row and then just vanishes the rest of the season? We've got a character in one of my dynasty leagues that our league has found quite interesting. Dan East, he is saying that Achan will only get 50 yards and then exit the game injured. That's kind of a bold prediction, predicting injury, and that Mostert will return to form with 2 touchdowns and 150 plus yards. So if our legendary compadre has anything to say about this, it's not looking good for Jimmy starting HM this week.
I don't know this man you speak of, Todd. I hate that someone is predicting an injury. I would not wish that upon anybody. But hey, maybe who's to say? I guess we'll have to see. Up next is your game, Todd. You were playing Forest. You both are 2-2. How are you liking your chances here?
As always, love them. My team is ready to rock and roll. Average points for my current starters is 119.5, so I think we're in good shape to return to form. Forrest, here's a fun fact for you, Ryan. Forrest quietly, even though doing so well so far, doesn't have a single skill position player in the top 10 of any of their positions. It's all double digits. So he's been carried a lot by gigantic performances by his kicker, by his defense, and then intermittently by the rest of the sporting cast. So it's really hard to predict what he's going to do. But I think with my team, I think we're going to show him what's up. The Cowboys defense won't be able to get the win against the 49ers for him. James Cook is a beast, and I think he'll have a big game. He just keeps getting better and better. And I am nervous about Richardson. I think starting Saquon is a mistake here, especially with all the O-line issues for the Giants. So I think my team barely squeaks by.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling point, Todd. Unfortunately, I'm going the other way. I think Forrest is going to win with the asterisk that Saquon is healthy. He's currently questionable. If Saquon is out, I like your chances a lot more. But I think Forrest is going to sneak it out. But I think it's going to be a good game. I can't wait to follow along. Up next is Mike versus Mims. Mims has a couple big question marks in Miles Sanders and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And if they are healthy, I think Mims will win. If they are not healthy, it's going to be a really interesting game. But if they are healthy, I think Mims takes this.
Ryan, Mike's team is clearly worse off now that he's got Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a landmine. He is going to give Mike single-digit points this week, and Doug will never stop talking about it. That's my prediction. But is it really? Who knows? In terms of my actual prediction, I've got Mims carrying the week this week. Mike, despite his long tenured success, has never beaten Mims. Currently 0-3. Mims doesn't even know how to lose to Mike at this point. So I'm going to predict that continues, that Lamar goes off. But I am curious. He's starting 2 tight ends, Ryan. That's not a recipe for success. That is certainly not a high ceiling. But either way, I think Mims gets it.
Next game is Rick versus Nixon. Nixon is predicted to win as of today, Wednesday, and I think he will win as of Monday night.
I've got the same thing, Ryan. I think it's a big week for Nixon. This is the other matchup that is currently tied all time, 3-3. But I like the ceiling on Nixon's matchups. I think there's a lot of favorable matchups. And one of Nixon's players will tie to my weekly wagers. So we'll talk about that more soon. I like Nixon's team a lot this week.
All right, a little weekly wager tease. I love that. Can't wait to hear more. Our last game of the week, it is the only team without a single victory. That is Adler. Lucky for him, he is taking on Hoyle this week. And like AJ, Hoyle's team is getting absolutely destroyed by buys this week. It doesn't seem like he wants to fix that. Maybe he'll make a couple moves before Thursday, before Sunday. I don't think he will. I think he is just accepting the L at Adler. Regardless, I think Adler is going to get his first victory. Congrats, Adler.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Hoyle hasn't even tried to reset his lineup, move bench players around. It's hard to say if he's just waiting, strategizing, making a trade. Who knows? It's been a big trade day. So it's really hard to predict this one as it stands, but if nothing changes, it's obviously going to be Adler.
Definitely. Moving on, it is our breakout of the week / bold prediction. I hear you have a bold prediction for us, Todd. Lay it on. Lay it on me.
My bold prediction, Ryan, is that Jalen Waddle finally returns to form and torches the Giants for 1 touchdown and 120 yards, hosting a wide receiver 8 or better result.
Wow. Love to hear that. Can you remind me who has Waddle right?
It's actually Rick, Ryan, so...
Right. That just made the Rick versus Nixon game a lot more interesting.
It definitely is, Ryan, because on my breakout of the week, I've got Waddle on Rick's side. But on my weekly wager, which we're about to touch on, I've got someone on Nixon's side.
Well, let's go right into it. Who you got? What's your weekly wager for the week, Todd?
All right, this week, I'm putting $5 down, say that Christian Watson scores a touchdown. That's it. He is finally going to start scoring points for Nixon, and Nixon's going to be thrilled.
Okay. I might have to take a look and put some money down on that, Todd. Interested to see if anybody else takes you up on that. And that is it for episode 5, week 5. Can't wait for the week. It's always fun that the NFL season is back. Good luck to your team, Todd. Good luck to me. Good luck to all of our Buffalo Boys listeners. And we will see you next week.
It's been a pleasure, Ryan. As always, looking forward to more victories this week. Hope your team does well. Hope all of our listeners heeding our advice do well as well. You know, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback lately and really thankful for everyone listening. So don't forget to hit that like, hit that subscribe, do all the things you know you're supposed to do. And don't forget, don't get buffaloed.